How to change the strings on a Gibson SG style guitar. To do this job, you'll just need a new set of strings and optionally wire cutters. This type of tailpiece and the Tune-o-matic bridge is used on many of the Gibson guitars and many Gibson copies. Here's just a couple of the Gibson guitars that use this type of tailpiece and bridge, but there are many more. Here's how to change the strings on these styles of guitar.
So I've got a Gibson SG style guitar here. It's actually an Epiphone version. That needs, first of all, the top E string is broken, the thin E string. But I'll replace that first to show you how that's done, and then I'll replace all the rest of the strings following that. So the first thing to do is remove all traces of the old string, and the machine head end, it's already gone, so we've just got this piece here that literally just slots out the back. Now this style of tailpiece and bridge is very easy to restring. It's a good simple design, and it's used on most of the Gibson style guitars. So even if you've got an SG, if you've got a Les Paul or something like that, you will come across this design of tailpiece. So to put the new one in, we literally make sure we've got the right string. In this case it's a 10 and it's the top E string, and it's literally a case of just pushing it through the back here, bringing it over the top, and then just pulling it along. Careful it doesn't catch on anything that it shouldn't. And that end is that simple, and we just put it over the top of the blade on the Tune-o-matic bridge here, and that's how simple it is. And we then pull it through the other end. Right, at this end of the guitar, it's literally a case of just bringing the string along, keeping the pressure up, and putting it through the little slot in the nut and through the hole in the machine head. Now it'll come out of here until we get this sorted, so I'll put this through here first, get it in, there we go, and then bring it back so it's in that. Now it's going through first time, so what I need to do is get it so it's gone round at least a half a turn, maybe even a whole turn before we get the pressure, because if the pressure comes about here, the sharp edge of the hole will be sitting on the edge of the string, and that could cause it to break the minute you tune it up. So just loosen that out again a bit. So it's better to go around, general rule, it's better to go around too many times than too few times. There we go. And we just need to make sure that's tuned. And what I do is go down the other end again and make sure it's in the slot on the Tune-o-matic bridge. There we go. And then that just needs to be tuned up, and that's how easy it is to replace a string. Now there is one important rule when tuning, when putting a string on any of these three aside guitars. The string should always come from the middle and wind to the outside. So you see this, and this new string we just put on, it comes from here and around the outside. You never bring it from the outside in. This is so when you're tuning them, they'll all tune in the right direction, and you won't have to tune the wrong way to get one to tune. So they always come from the middle around the ferrule that way. Now this, you can tidy it up if you want. You can coil it up, or you can cut it. You can do what you please. Initially though, don't cut it too far back. The chances are the string will slip as it settles down, and it stretches anyway. So even if you're cutting it short, leave an inch or two to start with. Wait for a week or so when you've tuned it a few times and it's settled, then you can cut it short, and you'll be quite sure it's not going to go back through the ferrule, and then you would have wasted a new string. So now I'm going to do the rest of the strings on this one. You can see here I've actually laid the strings out in order, so as I pick them up I'm going to get the right string. I'll double check as I do them anyway, but if you do this you're less likely to make a mistake. And I've had strings missing when they've arrived. I've had strings out of order, and then you start putting them on before you realise. So it's always easier just to get your strings in order, check they're all there before you start, and then I can just pick up one string as I need it and work it from there. So you can see here in the order I'm working from the thick string to the thin string. So the bottom E string is the first string I'll be doing. If this is the first time you've restrung your guitar, I would actually recommend you do it one at a time. Take one string off and then put the new string on and take. Now, regarding getting them off, it's actually better, safer for your guitar if you just cut them with wire cutters. This sounds quite brutal and like it's going to do more harm, but it does less. If you spend your time trying to get the string off the other end, you'll find you could potentially scratch your guitar. These strings are very sharp at the end and they go through your varnish like nobody's business. Because I've done this so many times and it's quicker for me, and I can also clean the neck whilst I'm at it, I actually cut all the strings off. So I'm going to do this now. Obviously I'm not cutting the string off that I've already done. I'll just cut the others off. Now, there is an urban myth that if you take all the strings off a guitar, you'll damage the neck. And that is literally just that. It's an urban myth. I mean, if you think about it, if it was true, you could never refret a guitar or change the nut or change the bridge or anything. It is just an urban myth. And it comes from the 8 years of violins and violas and such like, where if you took all the strings off a violin or viola, you could do it damage. But it's not actually the neck that tends to damage. It tends to be the soundpost that falls over. So I've cut them off this end and I've pulled them out of the tailpiece here. So now I will just clean the guitar slightly, and then we'll go to the other end and get them off the other end. Right, so now I've got to remove the strings from this end, so I literally just unravel these from the ferrules. Out they come. Now, as I said earlier, beware, these strings are so sharp they can actually either damage your guitar or damage you, or if you have any animals, make sure you pick up all the remains and throw them away quickly, because they are really lethal. So there we go. Remembering I'm leaving one on because I've already replaced one string. So that's them done. Now here's the reason I always do them in one go rather than one at a time. Though you could still do it one at a time and clean the guitar, but I find it easier to take them off and clean the guitar. In fact, my own choice. If I was making this video and helping you guys out, I would have actually just removed them all anyway and not left this one string. So I'm using a bit of furniture polish just to polish here, because it's the only chance you get to clean this. Once the strings are in place, it's impossible, or very difficult at least. Saying that, I've got some advice for you. If you do find you get dust behind here, one of the best ways to clean it is with a paintbrush. A paintbrush will go between the strings and get the dust out nicely, but obviously it won't put polish there. There we go. That's better. And anyone who's seen any of my videos before, you'll know that a trick I learned from a violin maker many years ago, who restored very valuable antique violins, was almond oil, and it's fantastic for the neck, the fingerboard. And you don't put a great deal on, you just put a little bit on the fingerboard. It soaks into the wood, it treats the wood, it gives it a nice sheen, and it protects it, and it actually, because the oil will keep coming out a little, it'll protect the strings and the frets. Plus the fact it's not bad for the skin, so unless you've got any extreme skin conditions, it won't react with your skin either. So let's go back to the other end and start putting the new strings on. Before I put new strings on, I'll actually let you see me putting the olive oil on, the almond oil. This is it. My bottle's seen better days because I use this all the time. Great thing is, a bottle this size, I must have done like 200 guitars with this now. So we just put a tiny bit on a bit of kitchen roll or a bit of tissue or something and just rub it in, and you can see straight away it makes the neck look neater, makes the fingerboard look shiny, actually soaks in, helps protect the wood, stops the wood from drying out. On a very old instrument it can prevent cracking and stuff. Yeah, I just put a little bit on not a great deal. And there you go. You don't want to put too much on. If you soak it, absolutely soak it, you do endanger the seating of the frets. Remember, these frets aren't glued in place, they're actually held in place just by being slotted into a slot in the wood, so any expansion and contraction in the wood can affect the frets. There you go. So now I turn over, or you can even use a clean piece of cloth, and dry it all off, so that you've just got what's sunk into the wood. Then there shouldn't be any surface oil left really. There you go, and you can see the dirt it's bringing off between the first bit and the second bit. It's actually brought off a lot of dirt, and it does look better, and it treats the guitar. It will help protect it, make the frets last longer, etc, etc. It's all good stuff. So again, we start at the bridge end and the tailpiece end, because that's where we have to thread the string through from. So we always start at this end. So I'm going to go to here, thread it through, then I have to lift it, make sure it's going over the bridge. That's important. There you go. Here it comes. Horrible noise. I tend to line these up at the end of the nipples, but it's not important. You don't have to. If I can, it won't let me turn it. There we go. Right, and that's that end done for that string. And then I bring it down the neck, ready to be strung at the other end. So here we are at the other end. We bring this string across, making sure it's sitting on the bridge right at the other end. It'll go through the nut here and through the ferrule. So the first thing we'll do is we'll thread it through here. Side. So thread it through and put it where it's supposed to be. Now you remember the rule we've discussed. It should always wind from the centre, so I have to wind it in the direction so that this string is coming from the centre around this way. This is so important. There we go, get it lined up. Again, I don't want it to tighten up too quickly. Does that look like I'll just let that through a little bit more, because it does look a bit. There we go, that's a bit better, I think. Yeah. Rightio, that's better. There we go. And there's no point tuning these yet. You wait till you get them all on before you tune them. So we just thread each string the same way, always threading from the centre around. So on this side you'd go that way around, on this side this way around, and so on. Always thread to the centre. So I'll put all the strings on and then we'll tune it. Right, you can see the finish of the guitar. The strings go through here with the nipples all locked in there, over the bridge, through the slots in the bridge, down the neck to the appropriate slots in the nut, and then from the slots in the nut through the hole in the ferrule and always round the same way. So they're round from the centre. That is important. Something I didn't point out earlier, which I'll have to change the camera angle to show later. One of the things about Gibsons is the headstock bends backwards. This means when you put them down on a flat surface, the weight is resting on the tip of the headstock. So you really want to alleviate that by putting it on a cushion or putting something underneath the guitar. Because this part here around the nut, this is a real weakness with Gibsons and the Gibson style in any make, because if it falls or if you put any weight on there, it can break quite easily. So I'll show you that more clearly now.
Here's the graphic representation of what to look out for when you're working on this style of guitar. The headstock bends back more than most other guitars, so when you put the guitar down on a flat surface, it only makes contact with the surface at 2 points. The tip of the headstock and the tail of the body. So if you put weight on the guitar, you could quite easily break the neck where it joins onto the headstock, and this happens surprisingly commonly.
Something it's well worth pointing out: if you decide to change the strings all at once and cut them off, beware that both the tunematic bridge here and the tailpiece here are more or less held in by the strings. So without the strings holding them in place, they can easily fall off, which could damage your guitar or just get lost, or you forget which way they go back on. So beware that these two components are held on really by the strings. This has got little tiny clips, but they're not brilliant. So that's the tailpiece and the bridge are held on by the strings, so beware of that.
That's how to change strings then on a Gibson SG style guitar. Thanks for watching.